everybody coming. Before we got where we are with our team in our next game, I just have a couple comments about where we are a little bit. Obviously, we've been disappointed with our football in general, and so I think the bye week was timely for a lot of reasons, I suppose, but we would like to do everything we can to help this team grow. We're confident about doing that, and I've been real impressed with the work that we've gotten from our team. I know that I've mentioned the character of this team often in here, and I would like to just re-emphasize that. This is a good group. I think it was it felt good to get to practice with them last week, the way that they worked, and that part of it, I don't think we'll be lacking at all from this group. We want to one day at a time grow and have that result in a win. That's our goal for the moment, and that's what we're going about doing. I'm real excited to work with these guys because of who they are. We've got a great blend on this team, I think, of people, of some new guys that have stepped in this year with some youth and a few solid older guys that are on the team that have, I think, probably been a big part of the stability of being able to go to work like we have. I'm sure I'll forget somebody, but when I say that, I think of a guy like Chris Weber, who's about as sound and consistent a person as you can find, so we're fortunate to have people like that to be with the younger guys in the program. When we talk about change, it's really, really smart during a bye week time to take a good look at self-evaluation, what you're doing, and sometimes as you look at that, you can emphasize some of the things that you think you're capable of doing well and have done at times well, and then it's also important to recognize what you should probably stay away from, offensively, who you want to emphasize and really make sure they're getting the ball. So it's a good time to do that. So, the part of coaching that has to be kind of a continual part of it is the evaluation of your team and what you're doing, and that was a good time to do that. And I'd just like to reiterate, like I always do, despite being disappointed, the great fans that we have, and we want to obviously put together a great product for them. In our injury situation, part of it was a good week for sure. I think that the three safeties that were either missed all of or most of the last game, Antonio Reed and Aaron Williams and Josh Kalu, I think they'll be healthy to practice and go this week. I think the week was perfect that way for J.D. Spillman. He hurt his shoulder near the end of the last game, and so that week was good for him. I anticipate him practicing this week and going. He did not practice last week. Stanley Morgan with his hip did not practice last week, but I anticipate him being able to go. And then on the other side of it, Luke Gifford is still bothered by a hip. So I don't know what his status will be going forward. And Dedrick Young, you've all seen him play with his cast. Well, they discovered that the plate in there was misplaced, and so they had to redo it. So I don't know if he'll be able to recover enough to be able to be a player on Saturday night. We'll see. The other news is Tre Bryant will have surgery tomorrow. We're just looking at many things with Tre. I guess he has just been a warrior at trying to get back, But as we look at it for his long-term future with us, the best thing for him is going to be to go ahead and get it done now. And then the next question that will come from you, what does that mean about his red shirt? And I think that he would be a great applicant for getting this year back. And it also gives him the best chance to, his best chance to be healthy for the next go-around in the spring. So that's where that is with him. Purdue is coming off a tough loss, but really played a lot of good football in their last game. I think they outgained Rutgers by a couple hundred yards in the game. They're very sound defensively. They are like a lot of teams, like we are. They start with a 3-4 and mix in a four-man front from time to time, depending on the team or the situation. And offensively, they are balanced. You know, they have something off of whatever they do. You know, so there's a counter punch to how they play. They use two quarterbacks. I don't think necessarily to run a different offense, but just to play in there and give you a different look. And like I said, they have great balance within what they do. So we're looking at a team that has either won or been really competitive. Jeff's doing a nice job, you can tell, with that team. So we're expecting a real competitive, tough game in West Lafayette on Saturday night. And from there, I'll open it up to questions.
Mike, what is the nature of Bryant's injury? Have you been able to isolate that down any further than just having rickety knees?
Well, you know, I can't get technical with you on that because I would be misleading probably in some fashion. But this is, as best I can say it, you know, it's as they all are. It's just corrective to, like I said, and the most I can say about it is it gives him his best chance to get back and play again.
Mike, when you look back at his first two games of the year, it looked like he was set to have a big year.
Yeah.
What did you think of him coming in here this season?
Oh, you know, I have a ton of respect for for Tre Bryant. He is he's a great worker, great teammate. He was in a great competition within our group. And as you know, we didn't make that decision until the final week that he would be our starting back and would not necessarily be in a rotation. And you know, as we look back at those first two games, I think that he made the most of it for sure. It was exciting. He had a lot of good plays and showed, you know, really what he's capable of doing. I'm hopeful for him that he can get this fixed now and have plenty of time to play once again like he's capable of playing.
Coach, you brought up Jaylin Bradley a couple of times, trying to get him more involved going forward. Does he have a maybe similar skill set to what Tre Bryant did, and that's why you want to try and get him on the field?
Yeah, we're real excited about him. You know, I think when you look at those two guys, I think they would both go into the category of possibly being an every down back. You know, and I think that you know, that Jaylin is talented, and we like all that about him, and that's really why we've kept him active, and knowing the running back position, how hard it is, and we're looking at it right now with really the loss this year of Tre, that he's important, and who knows where that will surface with him before the year's out. But he's an exciting player.
Sorry, do you feel like the other two guys maybe have some limitations in their game that don't make them every down backs then?
No, and I think that really all three of them are, or all three of them that are playing right now are. You know, and it really wasn't the fact that either Devine or Mikhail would be limited at all. We just, as everybody knows, just decided to go with a back to start the year, and then would substitute Devine and or Mikhail when appropriate. And then when we lost Tre, we found that rotation with those other two was pretty good. You know, they've had their moments where they've both played together and done a good job. So I don't really have any regrets about how that has transpired, but really all of these guys are pretty capable of being an every down kind of back. They can catch the ball. You know, the biggest thing for Jaylin probably to continue to do is to get real comfortable with the times when he has pass protection. You know, if you give him the ball and run, he's good, and he's capable of being a good runner and a good pass receiver. So he's got a lot of stuff, as do the other guys.
Do you have any plans for Matt Farniok these final 5 games to kind of get him back involved?
Yeah, we do. We're pushing Matt in there. He rotated in at guard even last week. You know, I think that it's really important to look at players even as you go and decide what might be the best fit for them position-wise. You know, and you know, who he is as an athlete might be better fitted inside. So we've taken a look at him in there. But yes, we would like to play him. He's still hampered a little bit by that cast, but he appears to be getting more and more functional with it.
With Gifford and Dedrick's status kind of being up in the air, does that open the door to anybody else that aren't the usual suspects at linebacker?
Boy, that's a good question, and we've been through that a little bit. It's that time of year, right, where it's, you know, you could think about if there was the right guy that really the other guys that might could surface, that if you were going to take a red shirt off of somebody, one of them's a boundary backer for sure, and not an inside backer or a field backer either, and then the other 3 are definitely just inside backers. So there's no real good young guy that's redshirting that could slide in there and help us. Right now, we would have Marcus Newby, which is good. You know, Luke and Marcus, in a perfect world, our plan was to rotate those guys in the game, and then Tyron Ferguson.
Coach, how did you use this bye week to kind of reassess how you and the coaches, I guess, do business?
Well, that's a good question. You know, what we did is we did a lot of self-evaluation and working with our team, not necessarily game planning, but just working on whatever we saw as we evaluated those things that would be necessary to help our players get better. So the reassessment of the work has to do with how we can help the players, and then also to have I think a good picture of what is important for us to emphasize doing.
Mike, you were at a couple high school games this week and appeared watching some quarterbacks. What's your thought process there as far as quarterback recruiting right now? Because I know at one point you guys probably weren't going to take one.
Yeah, you know, we have reevaluated the whole idea of whether or not to wait and just get a guy in 19. I like the room. The way it is. I want to keep a small room in the quarterback room, but when you look at the big picture and the future, you know, it made us think maybe this would be smart to continue to look if we can find the right 18 guy. And so we obviously through the year we watch a lot of video even while we're preparing for games, so we've kept an eye on a few, and for me, I wanted to get, that's kind of been one of the things I've always done on a bye week, is go see a quarterback or 2 if I can, and so we had 2 likely suspects to take a look at.
What are some of the challenges that you and your coaching staff have faced this year, given the makeup of the roster, the youth and the experience that you didn't face in the first 2 years you were here?
Oh, you know, I think that you know, I think that there might be more similarities than you would think between 1 and 3. You know, even though, you know, you never expect or want any kind of a setback, when, you know, the one thing I think is for sure, with not only the changing of the guard at quarterback, but almost the changing of the system too, and then the changing of the defensive system, putting those things together almost feels more like a year one than a year three, if that makes sense. You know, I won't say that I anticipated where we are at all because of it, but I don't know that I can distinguish too much, rather than, you know, with that question, think that it's almost feels more similar than different.
What didn't you anticipate that has happened?
This year? Well, you know, I think that what I anticipate is normally really at a high level, you know, and, you know, so, you know, with things production-wise, I anticipated being more productive, probably on both sides of the ball. When you can take an analysis of the mid-season review of where you are statistically, I would hope we'd be better. You know, I think that, you know, the one thing that was great for us from year one to year two is we really improved in the turnover margin, key factor, and you know, the thing that I had hoped that also makes a big difference is that we would be better in the rushing category, and so, you know, I think that you know, I guess the best way to answer that is that I do, as I anticipate, I had a more optimistic look at what those two things would look like, and then you know, the other thing that that you never can anticipate are some injuries that happen that I think have played a key role, and you just have to be ready for them. You know, I think that it's been good in that regard to, you know, to get Chris Jones back and to look at that as to what it might have looked like, and the safeties back there this week. I hope that makes a big difference for us as we look at it.
Knowing that Nebraska fans are always reluctant to ever take a step back in the win-loss category,
Yeah.
were you thus reluctant to suggest before the season that this season may not be as rosy as last season, or may not be as good as next season might be? And in hindsight,
Yeah.
do you wish that you had communicated that differently to fans, or that there was an expectation created that was more realistic?
No, I don't ever look at a year like that, Sam. I don't want to ever message that to our fans, which is like telling your team that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. I don't, you know, we don't make. I don't have any excuses for it. We should and could be better. It doesn't have to look like this. So, you know, we're just now with what we see, take a realistic look at where we can go to help our team, and so we're in the middle of it, and that's our job right now to do that. So, you know, I've coached a long time. I've never believed that, and I never, you know, would actually message that out.
How would you break down the O-line play specifically at this point? What's been the good, the bad, and just what you want to see get better, I guess, down the stretch?
Well, I think that what we have to do with the offense, which a lot of it is triggered by how the offensive line plays, is I think that if we can run the ball better than we have been, and continue to improve, which we've done better at protecting our quarterback, then those two things will mean a lot to us as we go forward. So, and how would I assess their play? I think, you know, that as a group, you know, we certainly can continue to get better, but there have been individuals that have grown. You know, Michael Decker has got his first snaps of significant playing, and I think that's been good for him. Brendan Hymas, obviously a true freshman, which is unusual, playing right tackle for now a lot of snaps, is continuing, I think, to get better. And so there's pieces like that you know, when you make a general statement about the group trying to get better, which we need to do, there are guys within it that are playing significant downs and improving, which is kind of neat. It bodes well for the future.
Production from the tight end group so far, and have you been able to use them in the passing game as much as you have wanted?
We haven't been able to use the tight ends like I anticipated. I think that it's kind of part of the overall picture of where we've been off productivity-wise offensively. Are we continuing to work on that? Absolutely. I think that there are people in that group that are weapons that can be used like that. And I think that they can play a significant role of balancing up our pass receiving core, which is what tight ends can do for you. I think that, Stanley's having a productive year, JD's having a productive year. I think we can do more with our flanker, who's doing a pretty good job. He's making some plays. DeMornay and Tyjon, I'd like to break him loose a little bit, but our tight ends in that balancing act would be a big help there.
Coach, are any of your young tight ends getting any closer to perhaps seeing the field? He's a lot out the class right now. There are two freshmen that are redshirting that I think are going to be good players. And we will probably keep them on the redshirt deal. But they're interesting guys. They both are, and it's if they could help us and play right now, I would say let's go. But they need some weight training. Austin Allen is really athletic, got a great kind of confidence to him as an athlete that I really like. But he can use a little bit. He can use an off season of a redshirt year to get ready for spring ball and make a move. I'm excited about him and Kurt Rathdahl. So I think I'm excited about that 17 group that's redshirting, as a matter of fact.
Mike, what's been the value of the bye week mentally for players and coaches?
I think that there's definitely, as I mentioned, for some of the guys, bye week was really good physically. I think that for our team, probably with where we are, was really good for them to get a few days away from us and football. And I think the practices that we did have, I see as kind of a, kind of a release, to get out there and get to play without a game right in front of you, without we interacted and played offense against defense most of the time during that time without scout teams. So they could just play football and coaches could coach and hopefully technically help guys grow in some of the things that they needed to improve on. And we could get a little bit better idea of like I said earlier, of how we can go forward.
You mentioned a moment ago that this feels sort of like year one a little bit for you, with some changes. Looking back now halfway through the season, are you still satisfied with the decision to go to the 3-4 defensive role?
Yes, I am. I think that what has been taught through spring ball, fall camp, and even into the season, I think that we found out the last two games where we have to go, right? We played two teams that are in the top 5. And so we found out more where we needed to go. Up to that point, the previous couple games, or 3 games really, our defense was improving, I thought. And even played, I think, into the third quarter against Wisconsin with only giving up 1 touchdown. So, I think that this is a great, hardworking, detailed coaching staff on defense. I really like the looks of it, and I think that it will do nothing but grow, and it's a good thing for Nebraska.
Anything else for Coach?
Mike, what do you make of this Purdue football program? They seem to kind of turn it around from where they were. What do you make of this is his first year as head coach there?
I think they're doing a very nice job with their team.
competitive and have a plan, and it looks good. They've been in almost all the games, very, very competitive. I mean, they played Wisconsin relatively tight. They played Louisville tight. So they're very capable.
Anything else?
Thank you, guys.